Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Christine Sequenzia.
That was a fantastic introduction. The Animal Welfare Institute was honored once again to act as the top sponsor for the Sound Horse Conference. And we are thrilled to have been invited to share a few words this year. As Rick said, my name is Christine Sequenzia, Federal Policy Advisor for the Animal Welfare Institute, which is just a fancy name for lobbyist. AWI sees the end of horse soaring as one of our primary issues, and our leadership is actively involved in making sure that this is ended very quickly. It has been a few years since AWI addressed the Sound Horse Conference, so I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing. So, founded in 1951 by animal advocate Christine Stevens, whose husband was an internationally acclaimed Broadway producer and one of the founders of the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., the Animal Welfare Institute is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to alleviating the suffering of animals afflicted by people. Before AWI was established, only 2 laws to protect animals existed: a 1906 law, a 28-hour law to protect livestock shipped by rail, and a 1948 law authorizing the modest standards when shipping animals. In the organization's early years, our particular emphasis was on addressing the desperate needs of animals used in experimentation. However, in the decades that followed, we expanded our scope to work to address many other areas of animal suffering. Working diligently for the adoption of the Humane Slaughter Act in 1958, AWI has since successfully passed the vast majority of federal laws strengthening amendments passed to protect animals, including the Animal Welfare Act, the Endangered Species Act, the Marine Mammal Protection Act, among others. While passing federal legislation is one of our primary goals, our work also includes combating measures detrimental to animals' welfare and pushing for sound regulations to implement existing laws, as well as strong funding to enforce beneficial government programs. Today we are concentrating on ending the soaring of horses, ending the slaughter of American horses for food, and establishing humane transportation methods for those horses, including banning double-decker trailers. Other than working to better the humane treatment of equines, AWI is also advocating against the torture inflicted on fur-bearing animals by steel jaw leg hold traps and wired snares, protecting animals in laboratories by promoting Pet Safety and Protection Act, and promoting non-animal alternatives to animal testing, preventing painful experimentation in high school classrooms, and ending the cruel factory farm industry. While AWI is not a vegetarian group, we do advocate for the humane treatment of food animals. You probably didn't know this, 95% of the U.S.'s meat is currently raised in a confinement setting, although most European countries have realized the risks involved, not only to animals, but human health risks as well, and have taken steps to abolish those inhumane methods. Representatives of AWI attend the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, the International Whaling Commission, and we work to protect all marine life against proliferation of human-generated ocean noise and active sonar and air guns. AWI also works to minimize the impacts of human actions detrimental to endangered species and the pollution of oceans which destroys marine life. What are we doing to alleviate the suffering of the walking horses, you ask? Good question. AWI is actively combating these issues through several methods, including appropriations funding, requests, regulatory reform, agency education, and industry awareness. So many of you are already aware of the Office of Inspector General report issued last month. A total of 2 issues were highlighted and 13 recommendations given to help address current mishaps in the enforcement of the Horse Protection Act. Over the past years, AWI has been dedicated toward the effect of several concerns listed by the OIG in their audit and the USDA's implementation of the Horse Protection Act, and was thrilled at several of their suggestions. Last Friday, October 29th, Dr. Chester Gibson, who is in the room, Deputy Administrator of the Animal Land Health Inspection Service, or APHIS, the department charged with HPA's enforcement, and Dr. Lisa Ferguson with APHIS Veterinary Service, had a public call including several industry and NGO interested parties. On that call, AWI voiced their concerns about the USDA's commitment and comments and their planned actions in response to the OIG report. This wasn't the first time, however, that our president, Kathy Liss, and myself visited with Dr. Gibson and his department and advocated for a thorough implementation of HPA. While there is still room for improvement in these areas, you might be surprised to learn that Dr. Gibson and his staff regularly meet with NGOs to discuss our concerns. Last December, Ms. Liss and I were able to visit the Investigations and Enforcement Service Department of APHIS in Maryland. We spoke with Dr. Kay Carter-Corker and Bernadette Juarez about the programs that they are concerned with and are pleased with their advancements in the past 2 years. However, the department is still in serious need of funding to aid in the timely prosecution of these violations and funding provided for adequate personnel. Since that time, AWI has worked diligently to speak with several members of Congress and committee chairs to secure an additional $400,000 in funding for the USDA's implementation of the Horse Protection Act. This would bring the program funding to $900,000. APHIS has agreed to develop a budget and staffing plan to phase in the resources needed to adequately oversee the horse protection program, to continue to alleviate the funding needs in the future fiscal year, as stated by the agency's response to the OIG report. On March 19th of this year, AWI submitted testimony to the House Agriculture Appropriations Committee advocating for this increase in funding. And on March 26th, the testimony was submitted to the Senate Agriculture Appropriations Committee. To date, both funding requests are still pending. Surprise, surprise, Congress is stalling. And AWI remains hopeful that we'll see these increases happen this year. As you can tell, we are very busy at the Animal Welfare Institute and need your help. So I'd like to break the monotony and show you a little trailer. Take a look at this trailer from a Hollywood movie, Thank You for Smoking.
I don't have an MD or law degree. I have a bachelor's in kicking butt and taking names. I get paid to talk.
What do you talk about?
I speak on behalf of cigarettes.
My mommy says cigarettes kill.
Now, is your mommy a doctor?
No.
Well, she doesn't exactly sound like a credible expert now, does she? Yeah. We call ourselves the Mod Squad. MOD, Merchants of Death. We're lobbyists for the tobacco, alcohol, and firearms industries. How many alcohol-related deaths a year?
Well,
100,000? That's what, 270 a day? A tragedy. I front an organization that kills 1,200 people a day. The #1 killer in America is cholesterol, and here comes Senator Finister, who's clogging the nation's arteries with Vermont cheddar cheese.
The great state of Vermont will not apologize for its cheese.
What happens when you're wrong?
See, Joey, that's the beauty of argument. Because if you argue correctly, you're never wrong.
It's unfortunate that that's actually an accurate representation of what happens in D.C. The tobacco lobbyist, just like our opposition, has a complete ability to spin the truth to whatever they feel the need to do. So we need you guys to stay boisterous and active and help us try to spread our word on Capitol Hill and overpower these guys who have the ability to make a senator who's working towards, cheese sound like an idiot. So please stay active. How can you help us do this? So stay informed. Thank you for coming to this conference. Obviously, good information is given out here, and we appreciate you being involved. Secondly, AWI developed this little tool called the Compassion Index. The Compassion Index allows you to go on, just type in your zip code. You can send already formed letters to your members of Congress, write something different if you like, informed on the issues. It also shows your member of Congress, and we track their votes on different animal protective measures, so you can tell whether they voted against or in favor of different supportive issues, and it gives them a rank. So they actually have a percentage. You can tell if they're 100%, 50%. My former boss, I think, is 13%. Terrible. So we need to talk to him again. Thank you for letting us talk to you. And I guess with that, I'm going to go into awards. So first, I'd like to ask Charlotte Blackwell to join me. So for those of you who haven't heard, the Sound Horse Conference 2010 is dedicated to the memory of Bob Blackwell. This award is presented to you on behalf of Foch Friends of Sound Horses. Next, I'd like to ask Alyssa Doberman to join me. Alyssa and Blue are remarkable, not only for their high level of skill and achievement, but also for the example that they set for more humane treatment of horses in general, and the Tennessee walking horses in particular. This award is presented to you by Friends of Sound Horses. Alrighty, I think I'm going to welcome Rick back up to the stage. Thank you guys for enduring my speech.
Thank you so much.